I used to think being the good daughter meant something, that all those years of perfect credit scores, emergency fund contributions, and showing up to every family dinner would eventually pay off. I was wrong. My name is Teresa, and at 32, I've spent most of my life being invisible. Not the dramatic kind of invisible where you throw tantrums and demand attention. The useful kind. The kind where your parents call you at 2 a.m. because your sister maxed out another credit card, and somehow that becomes your problem to solve. The night everything changed started like any other crisis. My phone buzzed me awake at 1:47 a.m. "Teresa, honey, we need you!" Mum's voice was shaky, which immediately put me on high alert. Morgan Owens didn't do shaky. She did manipulative, passive-aggressive, and occasionally hysterical, but never genuinely vulnerable. "What's wrong?" "Can we come over? It's about Ava." Of course it was about Ava. It was always about Ava. 20 minutes later, my parents stood in my living room looking like they'd aged 5 years in a single night. Dad kept running his hands through his thinning hair, while Mum clutched a folder of papers like it contained nuclear launch codes. "Sit down," I said, already dreading whatever fresh hell my sister had created this time. Mum perched on the edge of my couch, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. "Ava's in trouble. Real trouble." "How much?" I asked, because with Ava, it always came down to money. Dad cleared his throat. $68,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. $68,000? How is that even possible? "Cosmetic procedures," Mum whispered. "She's been getting work done for months, financing everything, the interest rates." She trailed off, shaking her head. I stared at them. My sister, who posted daily selfies flaunting her natural beauty to her 40,000 Instagram followers, had secretly gone into massive debt for plastic surgery. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so devastating. "She came to us first," Dad said quickly. "We tried to help, but we've already borrowed against the house twice this year. The bank won't approve us for anything else." "So you want me to take out a loan?" "A consolidation loan," Mum corrected, as if the terminology made it less insane. "Your credit is perfect. You could get a rate we never could. We'll pay you back, of course. Every penny." I looked at these two people who had raised me, who had attended exactly one of my college graduations and 0 of my work promotions, who had missed my birthday 3 years running because it conflicted with Ava's various crises. Now they sat in my modest apartment, asking me to risk my financial future for their golden child. "Where is she?" I asked. "At home," Dad said. She's not handling this well." "Not handling it well?" I repeated the words slowly. "She racked up nearly 70,000 in secret debt, and she's not handling it well." "Teresa, please." Mum's voice cracked. "She's talking about hurting herself. The collection calls won't stop. They're threatening to sue. If this gets out, her career, her reputation, her career. Ava was an influencer who made maybe 20,000 a year, hawking teeth-whitening kits and workout supplements. But in my parents' minds, she was always on the verge of her big break. What about my reputation?" I asked quietly. "What about my financial security?" "You're stronger than she is," Mum said, reaching for my hand. "You've always been the responsible one, the one we can count on." And there it was, the familiar weight of expectation settling on my shoulders like a lead blanket. The good daughter, the reliable one, the one who cleaned up everyone else's messes while her own needs went unnoticed. I looked at my parents' desperate faces and felt something cold settle in my chest. They weren't asking me to help my sister. They were demanding I sacrifice myself for her, just like always. "I'll need to see all the paperwork," I heard myself say. "Every bill, every statement, and I'll need to talk to my loan officer about the best way to structure this." Relief flooded their faces. Dad actually started crying. "Thank you," Mum whispered. "I knew we could count on you." As they gathered their papers and headed for the door, I caught Mum's reflection in my hallway mirror. For just a moment, her expression shifted. The desperate mother act dropped, replaced by something calculating and satisfied. She'd gotten what she came for. After they left, I sat in my kitchen staring at the folder of Ava's debts. Botox, lip fillers, breast augmentation, Brazilian butt lift, rhinoplasty. The list went on and on, Each procedure carefully documented, each payment plan meticulously ignored. I was going to help them, but not the way they expected. Some lessons I was learning could only be taught the hard way. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove across town to Meridian Financial, a boutique lending firm where my old college friend Enzo worked as a senior loan officer. We'd kept in touch sporadically over the years, mostly through LinkedIn likes and the occasional coffee when he was in my neighbourhood. "Teresa!" Enzo stood up from his desk as his assistant showed me in. "This is a surprise. You sounded stressed on the phone." "Family emergency," I said, settling into the chair across from his desk. "I need advice about a large personal loan." Enzo's expression shifted to professional concern. "How large are we talking?" 70,000. Maybe a little more with fees and interest," he whistled low. "That's substantial. What's it for?" I gave him the sanitized version. Sister in financial trouble, parents asking for help, need to consolidate debt. I didn't mention the plastic surgery or the years of enabling. Some details weren't relevant to the business at hand. "Your credit's excellent," Enzo said, pulling up my file on his computer. "Income's solid. You could qualify for that amount, but Teresa..." He paused, studying my face. "This is a big risk. If something goes wrong, if your family can't pay you back..." "I know the risks." "Do you? Because I've seen families destroy each other over money. Good people who thought they were helping, who ended up losing everything." I met his eyes. "What if I wanted collateral? Something to protect myself?" "Smart thinking. What kind of collateral?" "Real estate. My parents' house." Enzo leaned back in his chair. "That's unusual for a family loan. Most people don't secure debt against their parents' home. Most people don't lend $70,000 to family members who've never paid them back for anything." He was quiet for a moment, then pulled out a legal pad. "Okay, let's talk structure. You want the loan in your name, with your parents' property as security. They'd have to sign off on that." "They will. They're desperate." "The paperwork would be complex. We'd need property appraisals, title searches, legal documentation. It's not something they could just sign without understanding what they're agreeing to." I thought about my parents sitting in my living room, tears streaming down their faces. "Trust me, they'll sign whatever I put in front of them." Enzo started sketching out loan terms. "Standard consolidation loan, 70,000 principal, 5-year term. But here's where it gets interesting. If you default, the collateral becomes our property. Your parents would lose their house. What are the chances of that happening? Depends on you and your family's ability to pay you back." He looked up from his notes. "Teresa, I have to ask, are you sure about this? Using someone's home as collateral is serious business. My parents have owned that house for 25 years. It's worth at least $300,000. They're not going to let it go into foreclosure over $70,000. Unless they can't pay. They'll find a way. They always do when it comes to Ava." Enzo spent the next hour walking me through the paperwork. The loan agreement was dense with legal language, but the key points were clear. I'd be responsible for monthly payments of $1,400 for 5 years. If I defaulted, the bank could seize my parents' house to recover the debt. "This is a lot of power you're giving yourself," Enzo said as he printed out the preliminary documents. "And a lot of risk you're taking on." "I'm not taking any risk. My parents promised to pay me back." "Promises and contracts are different things." I gathered the papers and stood to leave. "How long until we can close?" 2 weeks, assuming the property appraisal comes back clean and your parents sign everything without issues." "They will." As I reached the door, Enzo called my name. "Teresa, be careful. Money changes people, even family." I drove home thinking about his warning. Money changes people, but maybe some people needed changing. That evening I called my parents to update them on the loan process. Mom answered on the first ring. "Teresa, how did it go?" "Good news, I can get the loan. There's just some paperwork your and Dad need to sign." "Of course, whatever you need." "It's mostly standard stuff. Income verification, property information. The bank needs collateral for a loan this size." "Collateral?" "Just a formality. Since you're paying me back, it won't matter." There was a pause. "What kind of collateral?" "The house. It's worth way more than the loan amount, so it's perfect security." "Our house?" Dad's voice came through the speaker. He'd been listening. "It's just paperwork, Dad. You're not going to default on paying me back, right?" "Of course not, but..." "Then there's nothing to worry about. I'll bring the papers by tomorrow night." After I hung up, I sat in my car outside their house for 20 minutes, watching the warm light spill from the windows. This was the house where I'd grown up, where I'd done homework at the kitchen table while Ava got help with her projects, where I'd celebrated birthdays alone because everyone was too busy managing Ava's latest drama. My phone buzzed with a text from Ava. "Heard you're helping with my situation. Thanks, sis." No apology, no acknowledgement of the sacrifice I was making. Just casual gratitude, like I'd picked up her dry cleaning. I started the engine and drove home. Tomorrow I'd present my parents with the loan documents. They'd sign them without reading the fine print, just like Enzo predicted. And then we'd see how much family loyalty was really worth. The loan closed on a Tuesday, $73,000 transferred into my account, then immediately out to pay off Ava's creditors. I watched the numbers change on my banking app while sitting in my car outside the credit union, feeling like I'd just signed my own death warrant. Within hours, Ava was posting Instagram stories again, feeling blessed and grateful for family. New beginnings. Family first. The first payment wasn't due for 30 days. I figured I had at least that long before reality set in. I was wrong. 3 days after the loan closed, my parents stopped answering my calls. At first, I thought they were just busy dealing with the aftermath of Ava's crisis. But when my text went unanswered for a week, I drove to their house. "They're not home," Mrs. Patterson called from her garden next door. "Left for Florida yesterday, said they were taking a vacation." A vacation? With what money? I tried calling again that night, straight to voicemail. Dad's phone too. Even Ava's number went dead. "This is weird, right?" I asked my friend Luna over coffee the next morning. "Your family doesn't just disappear after you bail them out of a $70,000 hole." Luna stirred her latte slowly. "When's the last time you heard from any of them?" The day the loan closed, Mum texted "Thank you so much, honey," with a bunch of heart emojis. That was it. "Have you tried going by the house again?" Twice. No cars in the driveway, newspapers piling up. Mrs. Patterson says they took 2 suitcases each. Luna was quiet for a long moment. "Teresa, I need to ask you something, and I want you to really think before you answer." "Okay." "Do you trust your family to pay you back?" The question hit me like cold water. "Of course I do. They're my parents." That's not what I asked. I stared into my coffee cup. The truth was sitting there, ugly and undeniable. "No, I don't trust them." "Then why did you take out the loan?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with an email notification. Bank statement. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. "What is it?" Luna asked. "First payment's due in 3 weeks. $1,400. Can you afford it?" "For a few months, maybe. But not for 5 years. Not without help." Luna reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We'll figure something out. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe they're just processing everything." But even as she said it, I could see the doubt in her eyes. 2 weeks later, I was sitting at my kitchen table surrounded by bills when the certified mail arrived. The return address made my blood run cold, Meridian Financial. I signed for the envelope with shaking hands and tore it open. Notice of default, first payment, past due, Pinmitami, Dear Ms. Owens. This letter serves as formal notice that your loan payment of 1,400 Tuckertown was due on date and remains unpaid. As per the terms of your loan agreement, failure to make payment within 30 days of the due date will result in acceleration of the full loan balance and initiation of foreclosure proceedings against the collateral property located at my parents' address. I read the letter 3 times before the words sank in. I hadn't made the payment. I'd been so focused on trying to reach my family, so convinced they'd come back and take responsibility, that I'd let the due date slip by. My phone rang. Enzo. "Teresa, I just got a call from our collections department. You missed your payment." "I know. I'm sorry. I've been trying to reach my parents." "Where are they?" "I don't know. They left town right after the loan closed. They're not answering calls or texts." Silence on the other end of the line. "Enzo?" "Teresa, I need you to listen to me very carefully. You have 23 days to bring your account current, or we have to start foreclosure proceedings. That's not a threat. It's a legal requirement." "They'll be back." "They have to be." "What if they're not?" The question hung in the air between us. What if they weren't coming back? What if this had all been planned? What if my parents had used me to pay off Ava's debts and then disappeared, leaving me holding a loan I couldn't afford? I need to think, I said. Don't think too long. 23 days. After he hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at the foreclosure notice. My parents' names were listed as secondary parties, which meant they'd received copies of all correspondence. If they were really gone, if they'd really abandoned me, they'd know exactly what was happening to their house, and they'd know it was my fault. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop calling us. We need space to heal as a family. Mum. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Space to heal. As a family. The family that apparently didn't include me anymore. I walked to my laptop and opened my banking app. The loan balance stared back at me. $71,947.23. More than I made in a year after taxes. Then I did something I'd never done before. I googled, what happens if you default on a secured loan? The results were exactly what I expected, and exactly what I needed. 22 days to decide if I was going to save my parents' house, or let them learn what consequences really meant. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. I need to tell you something I left out before. The loan structure wasn't an accident. 3 weeks earlier, when I'd sat in Enzo's office going over the paperwork, I'd asked very specific questions. What happens if I can't make the payments? I'd said, pen hovering over the signature line. Standard foreclosure process. We'd send notices to you and the collateral holders, your parents. 30 days to cure the default, then we file with the court. And if they don't respond? Enzo had looked at me strangely. Teresa, why would your parents not respond if their house was at risk? Hypothetically. Hypothetically, we'd proceed with foreclosure. The property would be sold at auction to recover the debt. I'd nodded and signed my name with steady hands. Now, sitting in my kitchen, with the default notice, I pulled out my phone and called Enzo. I'm not going to make the payment, I said, when he answered. Teresa, what are you talking about? You have 3 weeks to... I'm not going to make any payments. I want you to proceed with foreclosure. Dead silence. Enzo, are you there? I'm here. I'm just... Teresa, do you understand what you're saying? You're talking about letting your parents lose their house. My parents abandoned me with a $70,000 debt. They blocked my number and left town. So yes, I understand exactly what I'm saying. This is insane. You can't just... Check the loan documents. I'm the borrower. It's my decision whether to pay or default. And I'm choosing to default. Another long pause. Teresa, I've known you for 10 years. This isn't you. Maybe you didn't know me as well as you thought. Think about this. Really think. Once I file the foreclosure paperwork, there's no taking it back. Your parents will lose everything. They should have thought about that before they ghosted me. I hung up and immediately called the bank's main number. I need to speak to someone about my loan, I told the customer service rep. Account number 4471-8829-3304. One moment, please. Hold music. Ms. Owens, I see you're past due on your first payment. That's correct. I'm calling to inform you that I won't be making any further payments on this loan. I want to formally default. Ma'am, I don't think you understand the consequences. I understand perfectly. Please proceed with whatever legal action is required. I'll need to transfer you to our collections department. 20 minutes later, I'd spoken to 3 different people, all trying to talk me out of my decision. I remained polite but firm. By the end of the day, I had confirmation that foreclosure proceedings would begin immediately. The first notice went out the next morning. I knew because Mrs. Patterson called me. Teresa, honey, there's a certified mail truck at your parents' house. The driver's leaving a notice on the door. Thanks for letting me know, Mrs. Patterson. Is everything okay? Your parents have been gone for weeks and now there's legal mail. I'm sure it's just paperwork. Nothing to worry about. But I drove over anyway, just to see. The yellow notice was taped to the front door, official and ominous. Attempted delivery, certified mail, signature required. I took a picture with my phone. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognised the area code. Florida. Hello? Teresa! Mum's voice was ice cold. What the hell did you do? Hi, Mum. Nice to hear from you too. How's your vacation? Don't play games with me. We got a call from Mrs. Patterson. There's legal mail at the house. Is there? That's interesting. Teresa Marie Owens, you tell me right now what's going on. The use of my full name almost made me laugh, like I was 12 years old and had broken a vase. I defaulted on the loan. Silence. Then, you what? I stopped making payments. The bank is foreclosing on the house. You can't do that. Actually, I can. It's my loan, my decision. But it's our house that you put up as collateral. Remember? You signed the papers. I heard muffled voices in the background. Dad saying something urgent. Ava's voice, high and panicked. This is insane, Mom said. You're destroying our family over money. I'm not destroying anything. You destroyed it when you abandoned me with a debt I couldn't afford. We didn't abandon you. We needed space. Space. Right. How's that working out for you? More background noise. Then Dad's voice. Teresa, sweetheart, let's talk about this rationally. Hi, Dad. Enjoying Florida? We can work this out. We'll come home. We'll figure out the payments. Too late. The foreclosure process has started. You have about 3 weeks before the house goes to auction. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your mail when you get home. There should be several certified letters waiting for you. The line went quiet except for whispered arguing. What do you want? Mum finally asked. Nothing. I don't want anything from any of you ever again. There has to be something. Money. We'll find the money. Where? You couldn't find 70,000 3 weeks ago. Where are you going to find it now? Teresa, please. Dad's voice was breaking. That house is everything to us. It's where we raised you girls. It's our whole life. Should have thought about that before you used me and threw me away. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. My phone buzzed with a text from Ava's account. You psycho bitch! You're going to pay for this. I screenshot the message and blocked her too. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, feeling lighter than I had in years. The foreclosure sale was scheduled for 3 weeks from Friday. I marked it on my calendar with a red pen. Game on. The calls started at 6 a.m. the next morning. Teresa, pick up the phone right now, Mum's voice shrieked through my voicemail. This is not a game. Call me back immediately. I deleted it and went to make coffee. By noon, I had 17 missed calls and 12 voicemails. I listened to them while eating lunch, putting the phone on speaker so I could take notes. You vindictive little bitch, Ava's voice hissed through the speaker. You think you're so smart, but you're just pathetic. Nobody will ever love you. I wrote down the timestamp. Teresa, honey, I know you're angry, Dad's voice, shaky and desperate. But this isn't the way to handle things. We're family. We can work this out. Delete. I'm calling a lawyer, Mom again. You can't do this to us. There have to be laws against this kind of manipulation. I almost laughed at that one. The most interesting call came from a number I didn't recognise. Teresa? This is Holden. Ava's friend. Look, I don't know what's going on with your family, but Ava's having a complete breakdown. She's talking about doing something stupid. Can you just call her back? Please, Holden. Ava's on-again, off-again boyfriend who usually disappeared whenever she needed actual help. The fact that he was calling me meant things were getting serious. I didn't call him back. Instead, I drove to Luna's apartment. You look terrible, she said, opening the door in her pyjamas. Thanks. Can I come in? Luna's living room was cluttered with art supplies and half-finished paintings. She cleared a space on the couch and handed me a cup of tea. So, how bad is it? I pulled out my phone and played her the worst of the voicemails. Ava calling me a psycho. Mum threatening to sue me. Dad begging and crying. Jesus, Luna said when I finished. They're really losing it. Good. Teresa. She set down her tea and looked at me seriously. I need to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. Okay. Are you doing this for justice? Or are you doing this for revenge? I thought about it. Does it matter? It might. To you, I mean, when this is all over. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. This is Holden. Ava tried to overdose last night. She's in the hospital. Thought you should know. I stared at the message, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. What is it? Luna asked. I showed her the text. Oh my God. Teresa, you have to... Have to what? Drop everything and run to save her? Again? She's in the hospital. She's manipulating. This is what Ava does when she doesn't get her way. Remember when she accidentally crashed her car into a tree because Mum wouldn't co-sign for a new apartment? Or when she had that allergic reaction that turned out to be too much wine and Benadryl? Luna was quiet for a moment. What if this time is different? It's not. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. What if Ava really had tried to hurt herself? What if my revenge had pushed her over the edge? My phone rang. Holden. Teresa, thank God. Listen, Ava's okay, but she's asking for you. The doctors say... Which hospital? St. Mary's, room 314. But Teresa, she's really messed up. Whatever happened between you guys, maybe you could just... I hung up and grabbed my keys. Where are you going? Luna asked. To end this? The drive to the hospital took 20 minutes. I spent the entire time rehearsing what I'd say to Ava. How I'd make it clear that her dramatics wouldn't work this time. But when I walked into room 314 and saw my sister lying in the hospital bed, pale and small with an IV in her arm, all my prepared speeches evaporated. Teresa? Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm here. I'm sorry. Tears started streaming down her face. I'm so sorry for everything. The money, the surgery, leaving you with the debt. I never meant for any of this to happen. I stood at the foot of her bed, arms crossed. What did you take? Just some pills. I wasn't really trying to. I mean, I didn't want to die. I just wanted everything to stop. What pills? Sleeping pills and some wine. Holden found me and called 911. I looked around the room. No machines beeping, no intensive care set up. Just a regular hospital room with a girl who'd made a stupid, attention-seeking mistake. The house is still going to foreclosure, I said. Ava's face crumpled. I know. Mum called me screaming. She says it's all my fault. It is your fault. I know. She sat up in bed, suddenly animated. But Teresa, there has to be something we can do. Some way to fix this. I'll get a job. A real job. I'll pay you back every penny. With what money? You don't have any skills. You've never held a job for more than 3 months. I'll figure it out. I'll do anything. You'll do anything except take responsibility for your choices. Ava stared at me, and for the first time in our lives I saw real fear in her eyes. Not the performative panic she used to manipulate people, but genuine terror. They're going to lose everything because of me, she whispered. Yes, they are. And you're not going to stop it. No, I'm not. She nodded slowly, like she was finally understanding something that had been obvious to everyone else for years. I ruined everything, didn't I? Yes. And now you hate me. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and realised something surprising. No, I said. I don't hate you. I just don't care about you anymore. The difference I was learning was everything. 2 days after the hospital visit, I did something I'd never done before. I created a throwaway Reddit account and posted my story on Arbeidssport Personal Finance. The title was simple. Family used me as a co-signer, then abandoned me with $70,000 debt. Now I'm foreclosing on their house. AITA. I laid out everything. The years of being overlooked, Ava's secret surgeries, my parents' manipulation, the loan structure, their disappearing act. I included screenshots of the threatening texts and voicemails with names blacked out. The post exploded. Within 6 hours, I had over 2,000 upvotes and 800 comments. People were calling it the most justified revenge they'd ever seen. Someone gave me gold. 3 people offered to hire lawyers for me pro bono. But the comment that stopped me cold came from user Debt-Free at 40. OP, I work in mortgage lending. What you did is brilliant, but also risky. If your parents borrowed against the house for other debts after signing your loan docs, foreclosure might leave them with nothing. Check the property records. I stared at that comment for 10 minutes before Googling the county assessor's website. Property records were public. I typed in my parents' address and waited for the page to load. What I found made my stomach drop. Second mortgage, $85,000, taken out 3 weeks after my loan closed. Third mortgage, $45,000, dated just 5 days ago. My parents hadn't just abandoned me with their debt. They'd borrowed another $130,000 against the house, probably to fund their vacation and pay off other bills I didn't even know about. The house was worth maybe $300,000. Between my loan and their additional mortgages, they owed more than $275,000. After foreclosure fees and legal costs, there would be nothing left. I screenshot the property records and updated my Reddit post. Edit. Just discovered my parents took out 2 more mortgages after sticking me with their debt. They're about to lose everything and have nowhere to go. I'm not sure how I feel about this. The responses were immediate and brutal. Isai, they made their bed. Let them lie in it. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Your parents are financial predators. They deserve whatever happens. But mixed in with the support were other voices. This is going to destroy them completely. Are you sure you want that on your conscience? Revenge is a dish best served cold, but this is Arctic. My phone rang while I was reading comments. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Teresa? A woman's voice I didn't recognise. Who's asking? My name is Sarah Martinez. I'm a reporter with Business Weekly. I saw your Reddit post about the family loan situation. I'd love to interview you for a story about predatory family lending. How did you get my number? I have my sources. Look, your story is incredible. It's exactly the kind of financial abuse we need to expose. Would you be willing to go on record? I hung up without answering. Within an hour, my phone was ringing constantly. Local news stations, financial blogs, even a producer from a daytime talk show. Someone had figured out who I was and leaked my contact information. I turned off my phone and drove to Luna's place. You're famous, she said, showing me her laptop screen. My Reddit post had been shared to Twitter, Facebook and TikTok. People were calling it Justice for Teresa and Chuck Chai's family debt revenge. This is insane, I said. I just wanted to vent anonymously. Well, you're not anonymous anymore. Look at this. She showed me a Facebook post from someone named Jennifer Walsh. I know this family. They live in Maplewood. The parents are Morgan and Cameron, and the sister is that Instagram girl Ava, who's always posting about her natural beauty. What a joke! Oh no, I whispered. Luna kept scrolling. It gets worse. Someone found Ava's Instagram and is posting screenshots of her cosmetic surgery posts in the comments of your Reddit thread. I grabbed the laptop. Ava's latest post from this morning was a selfie with the caption, recovering and reflecting on what really matters. Some blessed nut schmuck family. The comments were savage. Is what matters your $70,000 plastic surgery debt? How's that foreclosure going? Your sister is a hero for exposing you. Fake face, fake person. She's getting destroyed, Luna said quietly. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom's number. Look what you've done! Ava's getting death threats. Are you happy now? I showed Luna the message. Are you? She asked. Happy, I mean. Before I could answer, my phone rang again. This time I recognised the number. Hi, Mrs. Patterson. Teresa, honey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but there are news vans outside your parents' house, and people with cameras. They're asking me questions about your family. What kind of questions? About the foreclosure, about Ava's surgeries. Someone even asked if I knew about your parents' gambling problem. Gambling problem? Oh dear. I thought you knew. Your father's been going to the casino boat every weekend for months. Your mother too sometimes. I assume that's where the money went. I closed my eyes. It just kept getting worse. Mrs. Patterson, thank you for calling. Maybe don't talk to the reporters, okay? Of course, honey. But Teresa, your parents came back this morning. They looked terrible. Your mother was crying in the driveway. After I hung up, Luna and I sat in silence for a long time. You could stop this, she finally said. Call off the foreclosure. Make a payment. End the media circus. With what money? I can barely afford my rent. Crowdfunding. Your Reddit post has thousands of supporters. People would donate. I thought about it. I could probably raise enough money to bring the loan current, save my parents' house, end this nightmare. But then I remembered sitting in my kitchen 3 weeks ago, abandoned and betrayed, staring at a debt that could have ruined my life. No, I said. They made their choice. Now they get to live with it. Luna nodded slowly. Then you better prepare yourself, because this is just the beginning. She was right. The foreclosure sale was still a week away, and the whole world was watching. Foreclosure day arrived grey and cold. I parked across the street from my childhood home at 9 a.m, 2 hours before the auction was scheduled to begin. News vans lined the block. Reporters stood in clusters, drinking coffee and checking their phones. I'd brought Luna for moral support, but she sat silent in the passenger seat, staring at the house. "You don't have to watch this," she said quietly. "Yes, I do." At 10:30, a moving truck pulled into the driveway. My parents emerged from the house, looking like they'd aged 10 years in the past month. Dad's shoulders were hunched, his face hollow. Mum wore sunglasses, despite the overcast sky, but I could see the puffiness around her eyes. Ava followed them out, carrying a single suitcase. Her Instagram perfect appearance was gone. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing an old sweatshirt I recognised from high school. The reporters immediately swarmed them. "Mrs. Owens, how do you feel about losing your home?" "Ava, is it true you spent $70,000 on plastic surgery? Any comment on your daughter's Reddit post?" Mum pushed through the crowd without speaking, but Dad stopped at the moving truck. "My daughter is sick," he said, his voice carrying across the street. "She's having a mental breakdown. This isn't justice, it's revenge." A reporter shoved a microphone in his face. "Sir, did you abandon your daughter with the debt? We needed space to process everything. We never meant—" "Dad, don't!" Ava grabbed his arm. "Just don't." They loaded boxes in silence while cameras rolled. I watched my childhood disappear into the back of a truck. My old bedroom furniture, the kitchen table where I'd done homework, the couch where I'd watched Saturday morning cartoons. At 11:45, the auctioneer arrived. A small crowd had gathered on the courthouse steps across the street. Real estate investors mostly, looking for a deal. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Holden. Ava wants to talk to you. She's in the backyard." I looked at Luna. "I'll be right back." "Teresa, don't—" "5 minutes." I walked across the street, past the reporters who were too focused on the moving truck to notice me. The backyard gate was unlocked. Ava sat on the old swing set Dad had built when we were kids. She looked up when I approached, and I was shocked by how young she looked without all the makeup and filters. "I didn't think you'd come," she said. I had to see it through. "The reporters are saying you're going to make money from this. Book deals, movie rights." "I'm not making money from anything." Ava nodded slowly. "I know. That's not why you did it." We sat in silence for a moment. The auctioneer's voice carried from the front yard, calling for opening bids. "I've been thinking about what you said at the hospital," Ava continued. "About not caring about me anymore." "Ava!" "No, let me finish. You're right. I've been selfish my whole life. I took and never gave anything back. I destroyed our family because I was too vain and stupid to think about consequences. The surgeries weren't the real problem. I know. It was everything. The way I treated you, the way I let Mom and Dad treat you. I watched them use you for 30 years and never said a word." The auctioneer's voice got louder. "Do I hear 50,000? "They're selling the house," I said. "Good. We don't deserve it." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. "What are you going to do now?" "Holden's letting me stay with him for a while. I got a job at a call centre. It's not much, but it's honest work. And Mum and Dad. They're moving in with Aunt Linda in Phoenix. Dad's gambling debts are worse than anyone knew. They owe money to some really bad people." The auctioneer called out, "Sold! 75,000 to bidder number 12. Ava flinched like she'd been slapped. "It's really over." "Yeah, it is." She stood up from the swing and faced me. "I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I want you to know that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better, trying to be someone you could be proud of. I don't need you to make me proud, Ava. I need you to make yourself proud." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Teresa, for everything." "I know." We walked back to the front yard together. The moving truck was gone. The reporters were packing up their equipment. The house that had been our home for 25 years now belonged to a stranger. Mum and Dad stood by their car, looking lost. "Teresa!" Mum's voice was barely a whisper. "Please, can we just talk?" "What's left to say? We're your parents. We love you. You love what I can do for you. There's a difference." Dad stepped forward. "We made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but we're still family. No, I said, and the word felt like breaking chains. We're not family. Family doesn't abandon each other. Family doesn't manipulate and use and throw away. You're destroying us, Mom said, her voice rising. You're destroying everything we built. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just refusing to be destroyed by you. The reporters had stopped packing. Cameras were rolling again. You want to know what really happened? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You want the real story? I pulled out my phone and started reading from my saved voicemails. You vindictive little bitch. Ava's voice played through the speaker. You think you're so smart, but you're just pathetic. Teresa, honey, we need space to heal as a family. Mum's voice followed. This is not a game. Call me back immediately. I played message after message, threat after threat, manipulation after manipulation. The crowd grew quiet. Even the reporters stopped talking. When I finished, I looked at my parents. This is who you really are. This is how you treat the daughter who sacrificed everything for you. Mom's face was red with rage and humiliation. You recorded us? I documented everything. Every lie, every threat, every attempt to manipulate me into saving you from your own choices. We're done, Dad said, his voice shaking. You're not our daughter anymore. Good, I said, because you were never really my parents. They got in their car and drove away without another word. Ava lingered for a moment, then walked over to Holden's car and got in. As they pulled away, she looked back at me through the rear window. Not with anger or hatred, but with something that might have been respect. The reporters surrounded me immediately, shouting questions, but I walked back to Luna's car without saying another word. How do you feel? Luna asked as we drove away. I thought about it. Free! For the first time in my life, I was completely, utterly free. And it felt like flying. The Reddit post hit 10,000 upvotes that night. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with interview requests, book deal offers, and messages from people sharing their own family horror stories. I turned it off and went to bed early. The next morning, Luna brought coffee and bagels to my apartment. You're trending on Twitter, she said, setting her laptop on my kitchen table. Look at this. The hashtag Daciata Teresa Owens Revenge was everywhere. People were posting their own stories of family financial abuse. Someone had started a GoFundMe to help me pay off the remaining loan balance, which had already raised $12,000. This is insane, I said, scrolling through the donations. People are giving me money. You became a symbol. The person who finally fought back. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a delivery man holding a massive flower arrangement. The card read, You did what you had to do. Proud of you. Enzo. That's sweet, Luna said, reading over my shoulder. He could lose his job over this. Banks don't like publicity about foreclosures. He'll be fine. Look at this email. She showed me her phone. A message from a producer at 60 Minutes asking if I'd consider doing an interview about predatory family lending practices. They want to make you the face of financial abuse awareness, Luna said. I just wanted my family to leave me alone. Mission accomplished. My laptop chimed with a new message. Reddit DM from an account called Call Center Ava. Teresa, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to see this. She'd attached a screenshot of a bank statement, a checking account with 840 $23 in it, and a deposit schedule showing weekly payments of $320 from Pinnacle Customer Solutions. I've been working for 3 weeks. It's not much, but it's honest money. I'm going to pay you back, every penny. It might take me 10 years, but I'm going to do it. I stared at the message for a long time. What is it? Luna asked. I showed her the screenshot. Ava got a job. Holy shit, Ava got a job. She says she's going to pay me back. Do you believe her? I thought about my sister sitting on the swing set, looking younger and more real than I'd seen her in years. Maybe. For the first time in my life, maybe. My phone rang. Enzo. Teresa, I need to tell you something. The bank is willing to negotiate a settlement on your loan. What kind of settlement? The house sold for $75,000. After legal fees and costs, there's about $60,000 left. They're willing to call it even if you accept that amount. So I'd still owe $13,000? Actually, no. The GoFundMe is up to 15,000 now. People want to help you. I walked to my window and looked out at the street. Normal people living normal lives, not destroying each other over money and pride. Enzo, what happens to the extra money if people donated more than I need? That's up to you. An idea started forming. Can you set up a fund? Something to help other people in similar situations? You want to start a charity? I want to do something useful with this mess. That afternoon, I updated my Reddit post one final time. Update. The house sold. My loan is settled. Thanks to everyone who donated to help me. I'm using the extra money to start a fund for people trapped by family financial abuse. If my story helped even one person recognise the warning signs, then maybe something good came out of all this destruction. To my family, if you're reading this, I hope you find peace. I hope you learn to treat each other better. But I'm done being your safety net. I'm done being invisible. To everyone else, set boundaries. Protect your credit. Don't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You're worth more than that. Ask me anything about the cost of karma. The responses poured in immediately. Hundreds of people thanking me, sharing their own stories, asking for advice. I spent the evening answering questions and offering support to strangers who understood exactly what I'd been through. Around midnight, one more message came in. From call centre Ava again. I saw your update. I'm proud of you. You're going to help so many people. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to see who you really are. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back. Good luck with the job. Don't give up. I won't. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. I closed the laptop and looked around my small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Paid for with my own money, decorated with my own choices, filled with my own peace. Luna was right. I was free. And for the first time in 32 years, I knew exactly what that freedom was worth. Everything.